Hello, welcome to the Ancient Cosmic Clock. Today we're going to explore the differences between a prophet and a psychic and how to tell the difference. We're going to first go into the, people's opinions on it, and then we're going to interview a psychic. And then after that, we're going to give you a cosmic perspective on the breakdown between the two.
What's the difference between a prophet and a psychic?
So a prophet is the main person, and the sidekick is like the friend that helps them with their evil or good. It's like a team. Two people that are like a team.
A prophet is more on the religious aspect of things, and a psychic is more they do like readings. Some might do tarot cards. They're intuitive, and let's see. And then your prophets, they're more considered religious.
A prophet talks with God, and a psychic talks with spirits.
Difference between a psychic and a prophet is the psychic charges by the hour. A prophet will collect 10% of your wage.
Okay, to me, the difference between a psychic and a prophet... Okay, this is my answer. A psychic is looking at it from more of a worldview, right? And a prophet is looking at it from more of a religious background. They have the backing of, their religion, their God. That's how I look at it.
Again, welcome to the Ancient Cosmic Clock. We have Diane Sanders here today. She's a psychic, and we're asking the question, what is a psychic versus what is a prophet? Let's start by getting to know you. Diane, tell us about yourself.
Well, I don't know where to start, but so I have to keep it short. But I'll just answer probably some other questions. I was born with this ability and realized at about 3 years old that I knew a lot more than, a lot of future events. I always knew it was going to happen. And I tended to go in my dreams, I would go to other cities and countries quite a bit. And then I had it verified later on. And I always knew what kids in school were going to say and things like that. But it was deeper than that. It was a real, I remember before I was born. That's another thing too. And I do remember my birth. So I always was kind of like 1 foot out of this reality in a way. And so it really created a lot of deep questions. And I always have had a lot of questions about why we're here and what is life, what's the purpose of it, and all that.
So knowing some things in the future, seeing other locations, does that include traveling of some sort too?
Yeah, I actually feel I was really there because I could find the actual spots later on in my life. Like I went to Paris, the Eiffel Tower when I was 5, and we lived in Virginia. Seattle, the Space Needle, I thought it was a UFO, but I found the spot where I was looking up at it, a lot of places like that. I traveled to Mexico and I went to the exact spots that I remember going to. Then that, gets you thinking, well, is our life completely pre-planned before you even live it? So there's so many questions that my experiences have raised. So, I can't help but, be a deep thinker. But I also wanted to help other people. And when I was 9, my parents were not religious. There wasn't around the house. I don't even know how I knew who Jesus was, but I met him when I was 9. That changed a lot. And I wanted to be able to help people with being able to see the other side. I also can see dead people or hear them and help, with relatives and help people find peace. I can see into people's bodies if they're sick or what's going on, and things like that. So, I also, have really had to learn and spend years clearing my own stuff so that I can be clear as a channel and give crisp, precise information that doesn't have my projections on it. That's really important.
Yeah, that was something I was curious
Big time.
about.
Yeah.
is how do psychics use their abilities? Are there different
Everyone's
ways?
different. You bet. And it's making a commitment. I want to do this in the best, most effective way, and learn how to turn the dial down when it's appropriate. Some people don't want you going into their space, and so you always ask permission. Is it okay? Or a lot of times you get an invitation, though. You can just feel it from the other person. They want you to, go. It's like we're really not alone. We are and we aren't, and it shows you how connected we are. And it sure adds a lot of spice to life, I'll tell you that. Very rich inner life,
So I hear you talking almost about like a code of ethics. Have you
Yes.
met other psychics, and have they had similar gifts, similar experiences, or similar approaches?
I haven't, unfortunately, gotten to meet a whole lot of other psychics, but the ones I have, they all approach it kind of different. And I would say, like some of the ones that I've got to know more, there is like that code of ethics for sure. You just know.
What would you say, in summary, what is a psychic?
Psychic seems to be more of an individual thing. So like, you tune into, say, one person more than a group. But there's also the ability to tune in to events and groups. It's being able to go beyond the veil of this reality. That's the best way I can put it. And people have an energy field around them, and you can read that field like a book. I have had so many future, premonitions. I mean, I saw the Twin Towers that happened, but I didn't know what city it was. And it's funny, the way they played it over and over on TV, the way I interpreted it in that vision, it was when I was 4, which was probably 40 years before it happened or something like that.
That's quite early.
Yeah, is I thought lots of planes were hitting buildings, because they replayed it so much. Or like major earthquakes, stuff like that. So some psychics are not really tuned into, events as much. People who are born psychic, maybe there's something that's tweaked so that you aren't just enmeshed in this, 3D reality or the physical, and that you're always kind of a little bit on the other side.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, where do you think psychics get their abilities?
It's a good question, but it's outside of your brain. I'll answer that. From experience, it's just something that, like I say, when you're born with it, how can you compare? If I don't know what it's like to not be psychic.
That's an interesting thought, of course.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But being psychic is hard. As a kid, it was really hard because, I had like a hedge on a lot of things, and I had to learn to shut up and not talk about it. I scared a lot of kids and people.
Yeah, what do you do when people think that psychic abilities are evil?
Yeah, that was... I usually tell them that I am here to serve God, and that I make that conscious choice, because I have met people who channel. And to me, that's sort of opening yourself up, because you don't really know who's coming in. You really, really, don't know. For me, I go into my higher self, because we have our oversoul in ours, and that's more, you can get wisdom and universal knowledge. That's what it is. So you can go that way instead of inviting in some stranger.
So you say with the different sources, there might be some that are dark or evil.
And yeah, who knows what their agenda really is?
Okay.
For sure.
So you could speak to some of those who are concerned, maybe with...
I serve the light.
That you serve the light.
And I always say, before I do a lot of my work, is that I'm here only to serve the greater good.
And sometimes it's not even individual fears. There's whole religious institutions that have a body of teachings against it, or seem to. So did you have any faith tradition yourself, or encounter other ones?
Well, I haven't been burned at the stake yet this time. And, I haven't been, excommunicated. I never was a member of a church, so I never had to worry about that. I've had a lot of independence with that. but I haven't not really run into a position, more curiosity. But I also use my skills to see the energy fields around people, just like you. You know, didn't matter how far away you were, I got to meet you. I asked to do that.
Yeah, before you had this interview,
Yeah.
Diane told me about a change I had in my life about 3 years ago, and that's when I had a divorce. And it softened me, and there was a change that she saw.
Yeah, a completely new paradigm.
Yeah,
Different direction. That's neat. And so I get to feel other people's joy and sadness, you know. So that's why I was saying it makes life very rich, because I am very empathic too.
I was going to say a lot of people use some words that may not always get associated with psychic abilities, but they do sound very similar. Empaths or empathy.
All that, yeah. Be able to hear, you know, like they have the clairaudient, you know, kinetic where you can move things. I don't know if I think I did when I was younger, but I don't remember. But you know, I can certainly see and hear and feel. And the other side, yeah.
Okay, Diane. Well, I thank you very much. And just to summarize, you've had these gifts all your life, so you've had a lot of time to think about them and how to use them.
Yeah.
Let me just close with asking, why do you use your psychic abilities? What's your purpose? You've mentioned it a few times with service and so on.
To help to serve God and to help other people, and it's just there, and you can't help it. When you're born with it, it's just there. You know, you walk into a room and all of a sudden you know something about that other person, or a lot of times something that's going to happen can be very helpful. Like, you better get out of this room or this building right now. Something's going to happen, and that has happened. There was a fire, and I got out. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You've had the opportunity to delve into perspectives of others regarding the distinctions between being a psychic and a prophet. You've even had the chance to hear directly from a psychic. By now, you might have noticed that psychics often possess a sixth sense or innate knowing, which can be developed or honed over time. However, is there more to being a prophet than merely having a sixth sense or delivering prophecies to the world? In deciphering this riddle, even if we define a prophet akin to figures like Moses or Elijah, renowned for their extraordinary power and miraculous deeds, we risk invoking a fierce debate online, with many dismissing such tales as mere myths. Even among believers, history has shown a scarcity of such awe-inspiring events. While miracles are not unheard of, hesitation lingers in spotlighting witnesses of profound occurrences, especially those from diverse faiths, as the world often polarizes over subtle differences in beliefs. Nevertheless, we're going to explore this topic further, buoyed by both scriptural and cosmic evidence indicating distinctions. It's worth noting that many people, if encountering a prophet, might expect a supernaturally gifted individual capable of predicting the future with pinpoint accuracy. Certainly there's a projection present. Exposure to real psychics is probably much more common than exposure to prophets. However, let's examine this from the perspective of how intuition is acquired, and also through the lens through which the Bible outlines how the Word of God is obtained. This is feasible because the Bible provides steps to obtain knowledge from God. Certainly we can reliably project this knowledge onto what a prophet should be and test it ourselves. Jesus probably stated the law of obtaining the knowledge the best when he said, "So I say unto you, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened." It appears that this law involves 3 steps: asking, seeking, knocking. Starting with the first step, it seems logical to ask and pray for guidance as the initial action in the search. The last step, knocking, seems to embrace the idea of making a formal request. However, let's dive deeper into the concept of seeking, as it is further explained in Scripture. Jesus gave a parable that illustrates what it meant to seek. In Luke chapter 15, verse 8, Jesus said, "Either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she lose one piece, doth not light a candle, and sweep the house, and seek diligently till she find it? And when she hath found it, she calleth her friends and her neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost." Note the correlation between seeking and sweeping the house. House holds a cosmic significance akin to the 12 houses of the zodiac, each representing different subjects or themes. Thus, when we sweep a house, the cosmic implication is a thorough search through that particular subject, which is required. This law implies that God isn't akin to a short-order cook, simply providing answers upon demand. For instance, if someone has their eyes roll back in their head and claims to channel answers effortlessly, rapidly responding to questions without genuine seeking, it's unlikely it's God's direct response. In a previous video, we explored the correlations between Christian teachings, the planets, and the chakras as a prelude to this episode. The upper 2 chakras, the crown chakra, considered a connection to God, and the third eye chakra, associated with the pineal gland, mark the distinction between a prophet and a psychic. A prophet, utilizing the laws of God to obtain prophetic insight, engages the energy of the crown chakra. This approach reflects a Saturnian masculine method of insight, acquiring knowledge through adherence to divine protocols. Opposite to the Saturnian crown, we find the pineal gland, representing a more Jupiter-themed approach. Jupiter embodies abundance with less restraint, embracing a feminine, connective, and more emotional essence. It is through this gland that psychics tap into their abilities. The concept of psychics and their abilities is highly debated. There's a wide disparity in accuracy among psychics, which fuels scientific skepticism regarding the authenticity of their abilities. Furthermore, even among those who acknowledge the potential reality of psychic abilities, there's a division regarding whether these abilities are inherently good or evil. Ultimately, individuals must discern and form their own conclusions on this matter. We've provided raw footage so you can firsthand explore people's experiences and perspectives. We try to maintain neutrality. In conclusion, consider a scenario where someone asserts themselves as a prophet and shares their journey of connecting with God. If they describe experiences like watching TV, entering a trance, and receiving visions unrelated to the program they were watching, even if they accurately predict a few events, we might attribute it to a psychic ability rather than a prophetic insight. Although that's not something every psychic does, as the one we interviewed advised against losing all control going into a trance. However, on the flip side, if someone shares a narrative of earnestly seeking God and delving into His mysteries, detailing their sincere quest, and then claims to have received divine insight, we would likely be more inclined to listen attentively and consider their message without immediately dismissing it. This doesn't mean that someone couldn't use both energy centers or that someone could have both gifts. Clearly, by being able to utilize both the third eye and crown chakra would by far be the most powerful combination. It would encompass both a feminine intuition and insight, with the masculine measured accuracy, coupled with the mindset of, Father in heaven, thy will, not mine, be done. Let us know in the comments what your experiences have been with prophets or psychics. We'd love to hear.